Alright, well, let's get this started. First review I'm going to do is I Spit on Your Grave. And just a short little bit of background before we start getting into the actual comparison. In 1978, director Mir Zirki made a movie called Day of the Woman that he shot himself. He had a pretty limited budget. Movie got a rating of X because this is, it's the 70s. A lot of movies got, well, not a lot, but X was an actual rating back then. That rating has gone away now. But he didn't try to fight that rating. He allowed it. He almost wanted an X rating on this. This movie was self-distributed. It was a very limited release. It didn't get played in a lot of places. In 1980, it got picked up and it was distributed in 1981. But one of the things that the company that picked it up asked is that they change the title. So the title got changed to I Spit on Your Grave, even though the director wasn't happy about that. But he did what he had to do. It got released nationwide. It was banned in many countries. It's actually even still banned in a couple of places. Like I know Ireland has it banned for sale, although people can still watch it, like online and stuff. And it has been consistently named in top 10 lists as one of the most violent films ever. So, just a little bit of background for you because I think that that's important for some of this stuff. Now, on to the movie itself. The storyline is is in many ways a simple revenge flick, but it's the way that it's done that makes the movie what it is. It's a story about a woman from New York who rents a cabin out in the country in the middle of nowhere for the summer to write her book. And she ends up getting horribly abused and gang raped by a group of locals. That's the basic story of it, and she decides to systematically get revenge on these people. That's the basic story for both of them. I mean, it's the exact same story for both the original and the remake. But the difference is how the story is told between the two movies. Excuse me. The first movie, this is an incredibly hard movie to watch. It is disturbing. It is violent. It's very controversial. And this movie actually makes you feel uncomfortable when you watch it. I mean, you physically feel uncomfortable watching it. And a big part of that is the rape scene in it lasts 25 minutes. That's a really hard chunk of a movie to watch because that's all it is for 25 minutes. It's these four guys raping her, following her through as she's trying to run away, finding her, beating her down again, raping again, and put that on repeat. Now, because this movie is so uncomfortable and disturbing, that's what makes it powerful. This is a movie that is trying to get you to feel what this woman is feeling during all of this stuff that's going on. It's told entirely from the girl's perspective. After everything is done, they leave her in the woods. They just leave her there. She goes back to the house. She gets herself better. And you stick with her as she's planning her revenge. And so much of this movie is silent. There's no real music in the background. When she's in the house and she's trying to recover, she doesn't say anything. It's just the expression on her face and you really feel that. And then when she goes out to get her revenge, it is systematic, it is violent. There is one scene in it that if if you've ever seen it, you probably know what I'm talking about, but she saves one guy for the very end because he was kind of the ringleader of the whole thing. And it's a painful scene to watch if you're a guy. I'll just leave it at that. Oh, I still cringe just thinking about it. Just thinking about it makes me cringe. So, this was a movie that was very controversial. Um, Roger Ebert actually said that it was one of the worst movies he had ever seen, and I don't fully understand that critique of it. I didn't think it was a bad movie. I thought the way that it was done was pretty well. It had some great cinematography in it. The acting was actually pretty good. The person who plays the girl is actually Camille Keaton, who is Buster Keaton's granddaughter, surprisingly enough. I didn't think it was a bad movie. I just thought it was a disturbing movie. And we jump up to 2006, and they decide to make a remake of this. I don't know why. The director of the original is actually producer on this one. And it actually got a theater release, even though it was rated R. And the remake, the only qualm that I had with it was that it was a lot tamer. You know, I even have the unrated version. That's the version that I have on Blu-ray. And it's tamer. It's not as disturbing as the original because it feels like you're watching a movie. The original felt like you were watching something that was potentially really happening, you know? And in the remake, after they're done with the abuse and the rape, she throws herself off of a bridge into a river. And they think that she's dead. So they spend the whole rest of the movie trying to find her body in case she actually was alive. And I didn't like that. They focused it on the guy's perspective. And I didn't like that twist because this is a movie that was originally entitled Day of the Woman. It's not about the man. It's not about the men in it. I don't think that they needed to focus from that perspective on them trying to find her. They don't even show her and what she's doing in this whole time. You don't see her again until she starts getting her revenge. Now, the end of the remake, I thought was a little better because it was a little bit more violent, it was a little bit more gory. Well, maybe not more violent, but it was a little bit gorier, and I kind of liked that because it was taking what they did in the original and taking it a little bit more to the extreme. But again, the remake felt like you were watching an actual movie. You didn't get sucked into it as much because it wasn't as disturbing and it wasn't as uncomfortable. So I don't think it was necessarily scarier or anything like that. But all in all, it was a decent remake. I would stick with the original. It's harder to watch. The original is very, very difficult to watch. But I would stick with it. It's actually somewhat based on a real experience, too, by the director, which I like. He tells a story about he was in New York driving around and he saw a woman stumbling out of a sewer pipe that had been attacked and gang raped, and he actually took her to the police and picked her up and helped take care of her, and that's what he based this story on. So it's not really a true story, but it's somewhat based off a true experience that he had. But again, like I said, go with the original. I would say the remake is a little bit easier to watch. It's a little bit more palatable for audiences. But if you're going to invest yourself in a movie like this, you need to, you kind of have to expect that it's going to be hard. So just bite down and watch the original. Um, I think that's all I've got to say, really, about this one. I'm going to start working on the next video as soon as I can. And the next one we will be talking about is an early Wes Craven classic. So I'll give you that little tease, and I will see you guys next time.